So in this video, I'm going to talk about the different types of government and their involvement in starting a business and operating a business, because I know this can be confusing. And this is something that I deal with regularly and try and educate my clients on, because it is complicated. So that's the goal of this video. I'm going to try and break that down a little bit. And so by governments, I mean city governments or town governments like municipal governments. I mean regional governments like provincial or state governments, and then federal, which would be like national governments. And so as a Canadian, I'm speaking more from a Canadian perspective here, where we will have the municipal governments and they have involvement in business. We have provincial governments and they have involvement in business as well. And then we have the federal government, which also has involvement in business. And so how are they all involved and in which form? I'm going to start with city or town municipal governments. How are they involved with starting your business and operating your business? Well, they are not involved with like sales tax or income tax or anything like that. The main thing with a municipal government is that typically you're going to need a municipal business license in order to operate a business in that municipality, in that town, in that city, in that regional or rural municipality. So typically you can just go to City Hall or go on like the city website or town website and apply for a business license, an operator's license. And that's not a very complicated process typically, and it's not very expensive either, but you want to make sure you have that because there are penalties if you don't. And so that's really the main involvement of a municipal government when it comes to operating a business. The other thing would be zoning bylaws. Cities, towns, whatever municipalities will typically have zoning bylaws, where what that basically means is that certain areas of the city, certain buildings are not allowed to operate certain types of businesses. So for example, you can't just, create a clothing store or a restaurant in your apartment building, or open a factory in, like a residential area next to a school. And that is because the city or the town that you're in probably has zoning bylaws. So when you apply for that business license with a municipality, they're probably going to make sure that the address that you have listed is actually zoned for the type of business that you want to operate. So that's another way in which municipal governments are involved in business startup and business operations. And it's very important that you're operating your business out of a zone, out of an area that is compliant with local zoning bylaws. You don't want to sign a lease for a property and then later find out you're not allowed to operate that type of business out of that property. And then the last way municipal governments are often involved with businesses are other bylaws and building code and building permit. They might want to make sure that the building that you're operating your business out of matches code. They might ask for permits, whether that's like an operating permit or a construction permit. So that is municipal government's general involvement with business. Now, in terms of the provincial government and their involvement, typically it's the provincial government that you register your business with. So like the corporate registry, that's typically a provincial thing. You can incorporate federally if you want to, but most businesses, whether they're registering as a partnership or proprietorship or cooperative or incorporating, they do that with the provincial corporate registry. Now, another thing with provincial governments is they typically have provincial sales tax. So of course that's administered by the provincial government. They might have health authorities where if you're opening a restaurant, for example, the provincial government might be in charge of granting you permission to operate a restaurant and giving you that health permit. The provincial government, or at least based on a provincial level, might be responsible for professional associations. You might have like a doctor's association, a dentist association, an accountant's association, something like that, that's more governed on a provincial level as well. And so typically those are the main things in which provincial government is involved in startup of a business and operations of a business. And then one other thing to add just on the provincial level would be what's called workers' compensation, where you might need workers' compensation insurance for your business. And typically that's administered on a provincial level, not on a municipal level or federal level. And now on a federal level, at least here in Canada, again, you can incorporate your business federally if you want to, but if you do that, you still have to incorporate provincially. Most businesses don't incorporate federally. I'm not going to get into that in this video, but in terms of the federal government's involvement with businesses, one of the ways they're involved is that you will get a federal business number, typically when you register your business, even if you register it provincially. And then that's where you set up a GST account to collect GST on sales if you're required to. Also, you're filing your taxes, whether that's personal taxes for your business or separate corporate taxes for your business, filing that to the federal government. On top of that, there's things like payroll. So GST, payroll, you can set that up with the federal government. Also, if you're becoming an importer or an exporter business and you need a license for that, that's typically done through the federal government. So I know that topic is a little bit confusing. Hopefully I cleared it up a little bit and didn't make it more confusing. If you're looking to get some guidance on this, feel free to reach out to myself. I offer a free 1-hour consultation and I can help you navigate this, especially if you're in Canada and particularly in the province of Saskatchewan. If not, feel free to reach out to someone who is suitable to help you with those things in your region, because it really is important to get those things right and understand the different involvement and requirements of the different levels of government when it comes to starting and operating your business. And if you got some value from the video, please click like and feel free to check out my channel here, where I have currently over 170 videos that discuss business startup and business management topics.